Okay, I've got a rally here with two guys on the court, and they're quite capable players, so they're really quite accomplished. And I'm putting a little dot on the screen on their foot, which is showing me how close they get to the side wall when they strike every single shot. And the whole plan of this is to understand just how much of the court you really need to cover, how much space you can not worry about, but understand that the court's really not as big as you think it is. In other words, the running area on the court is not as big as what you think it is. So you see it's a quite intense game. Some rallies are really long, and these guys are relatively shot players. Well, the one in the blue is definitely a shot player. He's trying to push the ball around and make the court big. So it's not like I've just picked two guys that are just going to rally down the back, and it's all pretty simple, and there's no movement up the front. So there's reasonable court coverage everywhere, and we've got a pretty solid outcome from a whole 5 minutes worth of squash. And the outcome is just about to happen with the finished last rally there. Okay, so what happens is we've got a court, and the court is 9.75 long and 6.4 wide. Now I'll put a few lines on the screen which you can see, and that pretty much shows you where you don't have to reach. Okay, so you don't have to step, so you don't have to run inside that area. The ones at the back are a little bit funny because of the parallax error, where we're at an angle. We're looking at the court at an angle, so there's probably another almost half a metre there that you don't have to get back into the back court, and it makes it look like the ones at the front court are a little bit further up the front and everything as well. But I tried to pick the feet, so that should be pretty good. So we look at the human body and we put that in. I understand the human body has a reach of about 0.7 of a metre. And then your racket is another 0.6, so that makes it at 1.3. So it's 1.3 metres there. So it's the same way of saying that I've gone with a dimension that roughly, I'll just pick it out in mid-air, but anyway, 0.8 and 0.6, and the reason that just makes it a nice, rounded off to a nice number, 1.4 off. Because it works out roughly around about there. It's 1.3, which is about right as far as where you didn't have to get into. Not too many shots are actually on the wall, and if they are, then you've really got to reach out a little bit further. Human reach, it's average human reach. So when you reach and stretch over and go over your front leg, then you can probably pick up another 300 mil or somewhere there. And so it's not bad numbers that I've gone and chosen for what we've got going on. So that it's pretty reasonable. So we take a look at this. That drops our court area, our surface area where we have to cover down. So it drops it down dramatically. So we were saying that we've gone from 9.75 and it drops it back to 8 metres. And the 6.4 wide drops back to 5 metres wide. So let's put that in perspective. So from the tee, you've got 2.5 metres that way. You've got 2.5 metres that way, and then you've got 4 metres this way, and roughly 4 metres that way. Now you're going to start from an area which is not in the tee. So generally you'll start from back here because the cut line, the service line is not in the middle of the court anyway. So that'll be about the mid-range area of where you have to run and everything as well, which is where all the courts are worn out on the red lines on the floor and everything as well. So the purpose of this whole video was to explain that the court is not as big as it looks. You don't have to cover the whole court. There is 1 or 2 flyers in here, as in, when I say 1 or 2 flyers, this one over here, that was a winning shot. And that just, it wasn't returned. And that's where the guy was. He sort of over stumbled and had extra stepped in there as well, and he didn't get the ball back. But if I put the second bounce in there, for winning shots. This is the second bounce for winning shots. Now those shots that were not returned, they're all the blue ones. Once again, and you see it's quite interesting to even see where all the winners were in that game. So the winners over here, they were a lot of them were boasts that they held the shot and pushed the ball across, and so the second bounce was over there with a few drop shots. But see, even drop shots, they're all really quite deep, so they're not right up here. They're not up in the front corner. As in the winners, and these are drop shot winners and so on as well, and they're not, and there's a few cross court boasts and stuff. but they're not right up in that front corner. So it really is 1.25 metres is very, very true. I would suggest that it's pretty good a number to say that you don't have to go within 1.25 metres of the front wall. So that's pretty big. That's a pretty big area. I know your racket goes in there, but you don't have to go in there. So you only have to go 4 metres. Now we talk 4 metres this way from our pseudo tee, which will be back here. Then you're talking 3 steps. If you can stride out over a metre, that's 3 steps. And that's where, that's 3 steps in a reach, by the way, and you've got to stop and you've got to balance. And so it's not as simple as what I make it out. So it is there. And yes, you're going diagonals as well from those points. And yes, you're going diagonals out there. So all those diagonals, I'd still suggest you can do it in 3 steps without any trouble at all from that centre point, simply because it's just a large. You can even leap in the air if you need to, but and players do. They don't spend time with one foot on the ground at all times. They can do it sometimes, depending on how much stress they're under and so on. It also matters how high the ball is, so that'll affect reach and everything as well. So you'll get a little bit closer to the sidewall when you're bowling. But once again, you're not running when you have to do that, and you've got generally a lot more time to come off that situation or that spot. So at the back, you've very much got a lot more time. You tend to go and drive those up if you can and lift them up and so on. So the ones at the back are pretty reasonable. But anyway, so we're talking 3 steps. So you need to work on 1, 2, 3 steps, 1, 2, 3 steps, and so on. If you can do your 3 steps, especially at the front of the court, back of the court becomes a little bit more different with some forms of shuffle movements and so on as well. Then it really makes a difference. But it's more or less, this video is all about to get in your mind that the court is really small. The court's not massively big. It's actually a small area that you need to cover. 8 metres or 4 metres forward, 4 metres back, and 2.5 metres sideways each side. So it's not a massive area. It's not a massive size that you have to go and spend all your time running around from point to point. So you don't run from corner to corner. And it really makes a bit of difference, and hopefully mentally it means that you can look and see that the court's really small instead of looking and seeing the court is really big. So when you have a look at how big the court is, have a look how big it is from the tee or from the middle of the court, and you go, well, it's not very far. That's not very far. So get back to the tee is one of the most important things, obviously, that you'll learn, because it cuts down the amount of distance. So you generally be around about there. It cuts down the distance you have to go for each shot. So if you're in trouble, lift it up so you can get back to that tee, which reduces the amount of distance you have to travel for the next one. There you go. Oh, just thought you'd find this interesting, so I just put it all together. And the other thing that I'll take home from this one is that you see where all the winners were. All the winners were short, but it's probably these deep ones that set up the short ones. And so while the winners were there and the winners were there, there's 1 or 2 lob winners, then 1 poor shot. That was a poor shot the guy just didn't execute. But 1 lob winner and the rest of them, this one was a poor shot. It wasn't executed as well. Those 2 were both volleys that hit the tin when they went for too much. But these ones were all outright winners, some of these, and some of these were outright winners with either boasts or the short volley, because they dragged them down the back first, opened up the front, and then put in the short volley winner. Get really good in this area. So get really good in covering this area. This one's much easier because you've got the big reach and you've got your forehand on that side, so you've got options, but this one becomes more difficult with your lunge and your reach because your arm is on the other side for the backhand side. When you stretch forward, it then makes it really difficult. You've just got to really lunge and get your prep in and everything as well. So do a lot of work in this area to get really strong and fast, and you can also see the amount of shots that are all the way through here. So you should spend a bit more time on the backhand side with movement than you do on the forehand side, because forehand side people are so dynamic, they keep it away from there, and that's why it's all there. So get really, really good at this. Get really, really, really good at this, and then, so that should be the order, and then get this one, and then get that one, and then you'll get really good with your court movement. There you go. The court's really small. It's really only 8 metres by about 5 metres if you take into consideration the reach of a human being. So such a small area to cover. Everybody should be super fast.